Angie, and welcome to Hot and Flashy, and welcome back to my kitchen. I'm going to do another cooking video for you today. Today I'm going to make an Italian classic, lasagna. But if you've watched my other cooking videos, you know that I have borderline high cholesterol, and I'm always trying to find ways to cut out fat and calories from my cooking. So in order to do that, I try to cut out mainly meat and cheeses and butter and stuff like that from my cooking. So in order to make a lasagna, I am going to substitute for the meat and the sausage. I'm going to put in ground turkey. And then I am going to add a lot of vegetables. So I'm also putting in mushrooms and spinach and orange and yellow bell peppers. And then to cut out a lot of the cheeses, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a white bean paste that I make in my food processor with a can of white beans. And I'm going to use that to substitute the ricotta layer. So ounce per ounce, the white beans and the ricotta cheese are about the same for calorie count. They each have about 45 calories per ounce. The white beans have no fat, whereas the ricotta cheese has 9 grams of fat. While the ricotta cheese does contain a lot of calcium and omega-3 and omega-6s, the white beans are packed with fiber and they have no cholesterol. So, you know, it's a trade-off. They're both good ingredients, and the place to really cut out most of the fat and calories is from the other cheeses, because this can be kind of a heavy meal. But the nice thing is, this is going to be really labor intensive to start, but the nice thing is that we're going to have so many vegetables in it that you don't need to make a side salad. So it's going to be a complete meal. It's going to have the starch, it's going to have your protein, and it's going to have your vegetables as well. So this is everything we need to make it. So let's get started. I get the low moisture part skim mozzarella. The beans I get are these Goya small white beans. Of course, we'll need some garlic, some ground turkey. I'm getting the Dreamfields pasta because it has a lower glycemic index and extra fiber. Here I have some Muir Glen organic crushed tomatoes that we're going to make the meat sauce out of. And then, in order to give it a little extra bulk, because the beans don't really have the same bulk as the ricotta cheese, so we're going to add baby spinach, mushrooms, and a whole mess of peppers, and then I have an onion. I already have my water on the stove getting ready to boil. So the water is boiling already, so we're going to throw in the pasta, and that is going to cook for 12 minutes. Alright, so we're going to get those down in the water, and you just cook those according to the package directions. Alright, so now I'm just going to add some olive oil to this pan and preheat it, and then I'm going to cook my garlic and my ground turkey. So I've got about 6 cloves of garlic here on my cutting board, and I'm going to use 4 in with my meat, and I'm going to save 2 to put in with the white beans. So I just have my handy dandy garlic masher to my pan that already has the oil heating. You don't want that to be too hot because you don't want you to burn your garlic. You just want it to be at a nice simmer. Okay, now the garlic is getting nicely brown. Don't like it to get too well done while I brown up the meat. So I'm just going to scoop it out into a little bowl, because I find sometimes if I just put the meat in with it and it's around the edges, it'll just burn right up. So I'm just going to pop it out here. But now the pan is nice and garlicky. We can add our ground turkey. We'll eat that thing. So you just chop this up and brown it. And in the meantime, I'm also preheating my oven because eventually this lasagna is going to go into the oven, and I have it on 350 degrees. The noodles are beeping, and they would seem to be ready. I'm going to drain those in a colander. And so the noodles don't stick together. I just give them a rinse with cold water. Okay, now the meat is browning up nicely. So we can add the onions. And we can add the garlic back in. I probably should have pre-sauteed the onions with the garlic when I started, but they weren't cut up yet. My assistant was still working on them, so... Huh?
I'm her daughter.
My assistant, I think they know. It's my daughter who enjoys cooking, and she loves to hang out in the kitchen with me, I think. Or at least I like it when she hangs out in the kitchen with me. For a little while longer. while we chop up the peppers and the mushrooms and wash the spinach. Okay, so now to the ground turkey, onions, and garlic. I'm going to add my can of crushed tomatoes, and this is going to make our sauce slash meat layer. And then I didn't show this in the ingredients, but I have a big pile of fresh parsley. I'm going to put that in. If you have any fresh basil or any other fresh herbs that you like to add to your sauce, you throw that in now. If you don't have fresh, you can use dried. So I'm going to put in some salt, pepper, and a little salt for that, a grind of fresh pepper, and some basil leaves, which I have to find. All right, so I'm just going to stir that together, and then this is just going to simmer while I go ahead and cook down the vegetables and grind up the white beans. So you're just going to turn the simmer. I'm actually going to move it to the back burner because my cooktop is so small. It's hard for me to fit. And in this one, I'm just going to brown the garlic that's going to go in the beans because I don't like raw garlic. Pour in some olive oil and throw in that garlic. And that is going to need a cover. Okay, so now I'm just going to pour the white beans into the food processor. I'm going to use the liquid from the beans because you would have to add some liquid anyway to get these going. So might as well use the bean liquid. And we're going to put in the garlic. And then, of course, some salt and pepper. Salt. I'm just going to process that up. And now back to this pan, we're going to go ahead and start the vegetables. So that needs some more olive oil. Put in the rest of the onions. And in the meantime, I wanted to show you I had laid out the pasta sheets on a cookie sheet with layers of wax paper in between so that they wouldn't stick together and they'll be ready to use. Okay, now I'm going to put the chopped up mushrooms in with the onions. And the thing with the vegetables is that they will all cook down to practically nothing. So it seems like you're putting in a ton, but really it's not going to end up being that much. So then with those, and you want to crank the heat up here to like medium-high so that they really get going. Now I have a bowl of orange and yellow peppers that my lovely assistant also chopped for me. And those are going to go in. And every part of it needs salt and pepper, so yes, a little less salt. I put kind of a lot in the other two parts, so a little less salt in here and some pepper. If you like your lasagna spicy, or you like, you could put in hot peppers, you could put in fennel if you like that sausagey flavor, you could put in rosemary, you know, whatever flavors you like, you can add at this point to any of the three, as long as the flavors kind of go together and are all sort of those classic Italian spices. Okay, so the other ingredient I forgot to mention, because I just decided to add it this second, is a little bit of white wine to deglaze the vegetable pan. Because I love mushrooms with white wine and garlic, so that's kind of what this is. And my pan is, I've been cooking this on nice hot, so it's nice and brown, and you want to get up all that browny bits. You can deglaze with vegetable stock, you can deglaze with chicken broth, you can deglaze with water. I like just a quarter cup of wine. I think it just makes a much more complex dish, but you want this to be really hot, so when you pour it in, all the alcohol burns off, and you just get all the brown bits up from the bottom of the pan. And then the flavor of the wine mixes in with the vegetables. And pretty soon, it's pretty much gone. All right, so then on top of that, now we want to sweat down the spinach, and there is a ton of it. So like, look at all the spinach, but that, again, is going to disappear and become like pretty much nothing. So we're just going to add all this spinach in there. We're really going to do it in 2 batches. So that one first. And it's the same lid, so to get the spinach to reduce down, I have to put the lid on it. So I'm going to put the lid on that one and give this one a stir. And this is looking and smelling so good. It smells so good in here. This sauce smells terrific. Okay, and it's only been like, I don't know, a minute or two, and that spinach is completely wilted down in there, and now we can add the rest. All right, so now the spinach is wilted completely and I've mixed it in, and all three parts are ready to be assembled into the lasagna. Okay, so I'm going to spray the pan with olive oil cooking spray, sides and everything. Hey, Soph. Oh, hi. There's the dog waiting for crumbs to fall as usual. And then I'm just going to lay in. I like pasta on the bottom. Do you like pasta on the bottom?
Yeah.
I like pasta on the bottom because it gets nice and crunchy and crispy. So then you just do your standard lasagna layering. You put on some meat with sauce. Spread the meat around. And on top of that, we're going to put, I don't want it to be too wet, so I am going to use a slotted spoon to get the vegetables out. Now we're just going to sprinkle those around. And you have to redistribute because you don't want just a giant glob of spinach in one place and nothing else. Then we're going to put on the white beans and just kind of drizzle those around. And if you want that to be a thicker layer, you can do 2 cans of beans instead. And then you just put on, continue with your layering. Another layer of vegetables. And then top it off with the last layer of the beans. And one last layer of pasta. Okay, I'm going to say just a little bit of red meat sauce just to give the top a little bit of color. I'm just going to spread that around. Very thin layer just to give it a little color on the top. And then we sprinkle on the cheese. So I'm just using 1 cup of part skim mozzarella. And I didn't put any inside between the layers. Okay. So there it is. I'm going to cover it with foil. I like to spray the foil with cooking spray so it doesn't stick to the lasagna. That is going in the 350 oven. Alright, so now the lasagna is in the oven. I'm going to cook it with the foil over the top for 20 minutes at 350, and then I'm going to take the foil off and give it 10 minutes just to crisp up, and then it'll be time for dinner. Alright, so this is looking good. After 20 minutes, I took the foil off. It's been in for another 10 without the foil on. And now I'm just going to crank up the heat because it didn't really brown on the top. Pull it out of the oven here. So now I'm going to just let that rest for 5 minutes, and then we're going to eat it. I hope you enjoy the recipe, and as always, thanks for watching and take care. Bye-bye.